After Minnesota swept Phoenix with sensational performances from Anthony Edwards, we all thought, okay, can this team beat Denver? Minnesota's defense worked very well against the Suns, so we thought maybe this defense can really stop Denver. Well, in games 1 and 2, what some expected happened. The Wolves' defense was incredible, opening up to a 30-point lead in game 2, even without Rudy Gobert. After these incredible performances from the Wolves, playing the next 2 games at home, we thought, okay, we have a new favorite. However, Denver didn't agree with this thought.
Murray, good as it goes! Got it! Got it! A big-time three!
And well, let's talk about it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, as this is extremely important to me. Well, let's go. First thing, what really happened? Did Denver only win because Minnesota got worse? Did Minnesota decline? Certainly not. Minnesota's strategies were exactly the same as in games 1 and 2. High pressure defense and often doubling Jamal Murray's marking from the beginning of the court. This worked very well in games 1 and 2 as Jamal was neutralized, receiving several blocks and really struggling to impose his game. Well, this worked in the first 2 games, but the big mistake of the Wolves was to believe that Michael Malone wouldn't do anything to reverse this situation. Well, some things have changed. Since games 1 and 2 to game 4, the series is 2. And yes, if the Wolves don't change some things, Denver will win games 5 and 6. In game 2, we had an iconic moment in this series. Jamal Murray receiving double marking and not being able to play, having some turnovers, receiving blocks, and having his plans frustrated. Well, what exactly changed? Michael Malone's brilliant mind came into action, which in game 3 started to change this team's strategies. Well, at various times, it was Aaron Gordon who was orchestrating the game, and this was thought out. In this way, Minnesota's team could not make full court marking. In games 1 and 2, at various times, the Wolves' defense doubled the marking on Jamal. It is obvious that this would leave some player free, but the best shooter on this team is not Aaron Gordon, but Jamal Murray himself, in addition to Michael Porter Jr. In game 3 and game 4, Aaron Gordon was free to shoot 3s in various moments, and this changed the series so far, as he has shown that his 3-point shots should not be underestimated, as these shots have been going in, and that has made a difference for Denver. Well, has Minnesota's coach not realized this? Things changed from game 3, however. Minnesota continued with this same strategy of doubling the marking on Jamal, believing that he would no longer find his teammates, but the reality was different. At various times, this team's rotation made the Wolves' defense seem childish, as Jamal managed to create several plays for himself with 3-pointers and 19 points, but he had 8 assists, some of them to Aaron Gordon, who had 2 3-pointers and an incredible 9 out of 10 attempts on 2-pointers. Besides him, Justin Holiday had 3 3-pointers and was also a player who was free in some moments after Minnesota's failed attempt at double marking. If Minnesota wants to move forward, it will need to give up on that, and probably Naz Reid will need to have more playing time, because without double marking, a faster rotation will be necessary, and Rudy Gobert staying under the hoop all the time will not be a good idea, as Denver's team understood that they would win this game with 2-pointers and 3-pointers. If you keep giving Justin Holiday and Aaron Gordon the opportunity, they will continue to drop 3-pointers. This idea of doubling the marking is not working, and will certainly eliminate the Minnesota team. In addition, Jamal Murray created many situations for himself, but without infiltrating, as he tried and failed in games 1 and 2. This time he is coming for mid-range shots and 3-pointers. Michael Malone's game vision is really different because he changes while there's time. If these 2 games had been closer, okay, for Minnesota, you can continue with this strategy. Just adjust some things and there you go. This team will win. But the last 2 games were not even exciting for Minnesota fans, because when Denver got ahead, Minnesota couldn't get close anymore. Well, the way Michael Malone adjusted his team, it will be no surprise if Denver moves on in 6 games. This team understood what needs to be done. Jamal needs to be the guy for assists. His teammates need to play, and everything will be resolved. If Chris Finch understood that the main piece for this team to work is to double mark Jamal Murray, well, he was right. But Denver has other tools to achieve their goals. Leave the ball with Reggie Jackson, with Aaron Gordon, and this double marking won't bother anymore, because it only exists when Jamal has the ball in his hands. That's why we saw at various times when Jamal managed to get out of this marking, because he didn't start the play with the ball in his hands. After that, he will show all his ability to create plays for himself and his teammates with 3-pointers and mid-range shots. Well, if you double, someone will be free. If you don't double, this team's rotation will involve you. So what to do? Well, things won't be easy for Minnesota because who can stop Jamal without double marking? And if he gets out of that marking, and if the three-pointers go in, well, then it's your end. Anthony Edwards is an incredible player, but his main characteristic is not three-pointers. The Minnesota team itself does not have that characteristic, while Denver has Jamal, Michael Porter Jr., Justin Holiday, Jokic, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and now Aaron Gordon too, who is frustrating Minnesota's plans. Maybe they thought, let's leave Aaron Gordon alone. He won't make these three-pointers. Well, he is, and that is ending with the Wolves. But what I mean is, if you rely on the three-pointer to win a game, then Denver will go to the finals because Minnesota doesn't have so many players with that characteristic. And honestly, I missed that in the last quarter when Denver was 10 points ahead. Well, when I looked at the Minnesota team, I couldn't see anyone capable of reversing this situation. 2 three-pointers would put the team back in the game, the gym would be on fire, and things could change. But Anthony Edwards went for the layup, Mike Conley missed at crucial moments, Karl Anthony Towns hit 4 two-pointers out of 14 attempts only, 29% shooting in this regard. A poor performance for such an important game, besides hitting only 1 three-pointer. So in my view, the Minnesota team needs to start the game well, open up a lead, and not lose it, because if this team needs to turn a game against this Denver defense, well, that will be very difficult to happen because this Minnesota team doesn't have the strength for it. The Minnesota team started the game very well, with Anthony Edwards being the protagonist and the team getting 2 three-pointers in the first 4 minutes of the game.
First 2 possessions. Look at the speed of Edwards inside. Pitch in game 3, 24 points. Edwards sets up from the 15. Gone. It's out to Edwards. Up shooting.
However, when the three-pointers stopped going in and Minnesota insisted on the same mistake of double marking, well, that was like a clear path for Denver's improvement, which after taking the lead, opened up more and more advantage with incredible plays from Nikola, who has an intelligence for this sport completely out of the ordinary. The way he deceives his opponents, facilitates his team's good performance, and creates turnover situations for his opponents is impressive. Rudy Gobert suffered in this game. Besides missing several free throws, Jokic was superior to him, both in defense and offense. Well, in my mind, there are 2 scenarios. The Minnesota team will need to balance very well what to do. When you have 2 towers like Gobert and Towns, well, this defense will be incredible against teams that like to play in the post or near the hoop. But Denver is no longer infiltrating, not fighting near the hoop. Their focus now is mid-range and three-pointers, as they were superior in this regard in this game 4, even though Minnesota had more rebounds. Denver had 32 50ths for two-pointers, with a 64% shooting percentage against 28 54ths, equivalent to 51% for Minnesota. And for me, the statistics that made the difference in this game were the three-pointers, 13 29ths, 44% for Denver, against 11 28ths, 39% for Minnesota. The rebound numbers show that the Denver team is not so close to the hoop. Minnesota had 42 rebounds against Denver's 31, 30 defensive rebounds against Denver's 26, 12 offensive rebounds against Denver's 5. Minnesota has 2 chances: improve their field goal shooting, or let Anthony Edwards shine and have him come for 50 points in the next 2 games. Otherwise, Minnesota will only pass if Denver has a decline in their field goal shooting. Other than that, Denver will move on without difficulties to get another title. Well, we've reached the end of this brief analysis. Leave your opinion in the comments, your point of view. What is missing for this Minnesota team? Do you think Denver has become the favorite again? Leave your opinion and don't forget to subscribe. This is extremely important to me. Until next time.
Like it had eyes.